So the transfer window is officially over and Manchester City have done all of our business for the summer, and there has been a lot of good moves, positive moves that Manchester City have made this summer, and a couple of negative ones in terms of maybe not bringing in a right back, maybe a couple of the sales that we didn't get across the line. There's a couple of things we can complain about, but overall I do think we've brought in some really exciting players in this window, and what I'm going to be doing in today's video is going through each one of our new signings, giving my opinions on them. Some of them we've seen, some of them we've not, but I'm going to be giving my opinions on them, and I'm going to be giving them a grade out of 10 of how good of a signing I think it is for Manchester City. And overall, I am going to be giving my full breakdown, my pros, my cons of all of the players, but let's just get straight into it. Then starting off with Ryan Aït-Nouri, the first signing of Manchester City's transfer window for £31 million from Wolverhampton Wanderers, and I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. And the reasons why is because I think so far we've seen some of the positive signs of Ryan Aït-Nouri in terms of, his ball carrying ability. I think there's still a lot more to see going forward about Ryan Aït-Nouri. I think maybe in a couple of the games so far he's been, not as involved as I would have liked him to be in an offensive capacity. Defensively, I think in the game against Wolverhampton, I thought he was really good. First game of the season. So I do think that there's plenty of potential there. I think there will be a little bit of a bedding in period for him. I think that, with the style he likes to play, with kind of the imbalance of our backline at the moment, trying to figure out the best backline, the best tactics for the new season, I think that there will be a bedding in process for Ryan Aït-Nouri, but I think more often than not, he will lock down that left back spot. He's very young as well. He's only 24 years of age. So I think that going forward, he's going to have a bright City career. I think that, going forward again, I think he will be a really good player for us. But I think it might take a little bit more time than maybe a lot of us would want, obviously, because Manchester City do demand results instantly. But I think that this signing might take a little bit more time than maybe some people realize. So for me, a 7.5 out of 10, because it will take time for him to bed in. But I think once he beds in, he will be a really good player. And I think for the price of 31 million for a 24-year-old, very talented left back, I think that's a really good purchase. So you know what? Actually, no, I'm going to bump it up to an 8 because I do think going forward, he's going to be a really solid signing for us. And then for Ryan Cherki from Olympique Lyon for £30 million, this one for me is a 10 out of 10 signing. And the reason why I'm giving this one a 10 out of 10 is because signing a player of Ryan Cherki's, first of all, age, but also talent with his ceiling as well, for the price of £30 million, when you look at the price that other players are going for in the market who are a similar age with similar ceilings to him, I think that the value for money that we've got in this signing is absolutely absurd. Now, you look at players like Florian Wirtz. Obviously, he was the player that we were originally linked to in the window, and it was disappointing that we didn't get him. However, Ryan Cherki's ceiling is incredibly high, and some of the way that he makes you feel when he plays football, the touches he can take, the way that he can kind of pick a pass out of nowhere, the way he can go past players. He's such an incredibly talented footballer, so exciting to watch. And to get a player of that value for £30 million, if you were to resell Ryan Cherki right now, he would be a minimum of £80 million. So if you were to resell him next window, the minimum amount you would get for him is more than double what we paid for him. So it's an absolutely unbelievable deal from Manchester City. A steal to get a player of Ryan Cherki's ability and talent for that age at the price that we got him for. I'm really excited to watch him in a Manchester City shirt. Obviously, he's injured now for the first 2 months of the season, which is incredibly frustrating because I was really excited to see Ryan Cherki, Phil Foden link up in this Manchester City side. We're going to have to wait for it, but one thing's for sure, he is going to be a big player for us, if not for the rest of the season going forward, because at the age of 21, he's got so much room to develop, so much room to improve, and I just think that his talent ceiling is just ridiculous. So for me, 10 out of 10 signing, unbelievable value for money, and yeah, Ryan Cherki, I am convinced that this one will work. And then Tijani Reinders from AC Milan for 42 million. I'm gonna give this one another 9 out of 10. No. And then for Tijani Reinders to Manchester City from AC Milan for 42 million. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I was tempted to give this one a 10 out of 10, to be completely honest, because Tijani Reinders is an outstanding midfielder. He won midfielder of the season in the Serie A last season, despite being in a really poor AC Milan side. And the talent is just there for everyone to see. We saw the game against Wolverhampton. We saw the game against Palermo in pre-season. We even saw the games at the Club World Cup, the impact that he had in those games. I think that Gianni Reinders is going to be a sensational player for us. It might take a little bit of time, obviously, to get that chemistry amongst the team. We've lost our last 2 games against Tottenham and Brighton, but I still think that given time, Tijani Reinders and Rodri as a double pivot in the midfield will become the best midfield double pivot in world football. I truly do believe that. The talent that Reinders has on the ball, the ability that he has to be able to play multiple different positions. He can play advanced roles because he's so technically gifted. His IQ to run in behind, the ability to also understand other players' movements and work with them in the final third. That is something that really excites me about Reinders. But also on top of that as well, the composure he has in the midfield, the passing range. Well, not the passing range. I'd probably say more the passing consistency. He never really gives the ball away in there. The touch, the awareness in the midfield. So for me personally, I am really excited by the Tijani Reinders signing, and this is another top piece of business for Manchester City. To get a player of Reinders' ability for 42 million is another steal in the market, and another piece of exceptional business done from Manchester City this window. This is easily a 9 out of 10 signing, if not a 10 out of 10. And then Bettinelli from Chelsea for £540,000. You know what I mean? Like, he's the replacement for, obviously, Scott Carson, who's left the club, a club legend, not for playing any football, but just for being vibes around the training ground. Bettinelli is going to provide that as the new kind of Scott Carson in the squad. I don't really know what to give this one, to be completely honest. I'm probably just going to give this one a 6 out of 10, a pretty bog standard rating. We're not really going to see him play any football at Manchester City. He's more of a player that's going to be in and around the back areas of obviously the training ground and going to be, uplifting the spirit within the training ground amongst all of the players. So for me, I can't really rate this one. It's whatever in terms of, he's not going to play any football, but it's a decent enough signing, gets another English lad in the squad, and also on top of that gives us our third choice goalkeeper. So we needed to get obviously that business done. It's not the worst signing in the world. I'm just going to give it a 6 out of 10 because he's not realistically going to play, is he? And of course, there's the 18-year-old lad, Sever Naipan, who we signed from Rosenborg for £12 million. A midfielder who has been very highly tipped by a lot of people. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have never watched him in my life, so I can't give you an accurate description of, how he plays, what his talent ceiling is, all of those type of things. However, there's a lot of noise coming about him being a very talented young midfielder coming through the ranks, and we picked him up for £12 million, which I think is a decent amount of money to pick up a player who could potentially have an incredible sell-on value in the future. He's gone on loan to Middlesbrough this season. I'm going to give this one a 7.5 out of 10. I mean, there's no real way for me to know how this transfer is going to go. He looks like a very talented youngster. We got him for a good value, and we'll probably be able to resell him on at the absolute worst for a profit in the future. I just have no idea. So I'm going to give him a 7.5 out of 10. I think that that's a relatively solid signing from City in terms of maybe a profit signing in the future, or maybe he shocks us all and gets into the Manchester City starting lineup. I probably don't think that that's going to be the case. But who knows? And then, of course, there's James Trafford, who we signed from Burnley for £26 million. A player who very much impressed in the Championship last season for Burnley. An unbelievable amount of clean sheets and a really top-tier season for him. He's obviously come into the Manchester City side this season in the first couple of games. He had a mistake against Tottenham. And overall, look, in the last couple of games, it's not been wonderful for him. He had a decent game, or a pretty good game, actually, against Wolves. He's 22 years of age. We need to give him time. I think a few people are obviously upset that his pathway might have been blocked into the side as a long-term first-team player. But for me personally, you sign him for £26 million. It's not the end of the world if he doesn't end up in the first team. He's a very young goalkeeper, a lot to learn. And I think that he's very talented. So I think this is a really good signing. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. Obviously, spending that money on a backup goalkeeper for this season, it's not an incredible use of your money, but in terms of a player who could potentially get into Manchester City's first team going forward in the next couple of seasons, potentially, I'm saying potentially, because there's someone we're about to get onto who might actually have that spot for the forthcoming seasons, but also to sign him for a very good amount of money. Very young goalkeeper, very high ceiling, probably is going to be the next England #1. So for me, good signing. At the worst, we'll sell him on for a profit probably going forward. And yeah, for me, that's an 8 out of 10 for James Trafford. And then, of course, there's the final signing that we did on deadline day. Gigi Donnarumma from PSG for £25 million, less than what we actually signed James Trafford for. And of course, he is the goalkeeper I was referencing in terms of being the #1 goalkeeper going forward for the forthcoming seasons. We have signed a world-class goalkeeper, and for me personally, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10 for the value that we've got him at, for the player that he is, with the ability he has of being only 26 years of age, having potentially another 10 years ahead of his career at a top level, not even reaching his prime yet as a goalkeeper, and being the best goalkeeper in the world last season. All of those things put together, a 9 out of 10 for me. The only reason I'm not giving this one out a 10 out of 10 is the ball playing side of things. Now, it's something that people have flagged. I've made a video about Gigi Donnarumma and the reasons why I think he will be a success at Manchester City. However, the ball playing ability that Edison had and the way that that Pep Guardiola expects goalkeepers to play out, I do think it could be a little bit of a teething issue. I'm not saying it will be a big issue. Obviously, Donnarumma played under Luis Enrique, so he's got experience playing in this kind of build-up system. But obviously Luis Enrique wanted him out because he didn't do the things that he wanted from a goalkeeper. I think as long as Gigi Donnarumma keeps his head on, uses his experience, which he has by a very young age for a goalkeeper, and just manages to be experienced with the decisions that he makes on the pitch, not overplaying where he doesn't need to overplay, play it long if you need to go long. You've got a big, strong centre forward in Erling Haaland up top. I think that there is the room here for real success, and this could be a 10 out of 10 signing. It really could. I think he could potentially have the ability to dig us out of big situations in the Champions League, even in the Premier League as well, with some huge saves that maybe Edison wouldn't have been able to pull off. He's a top level goalkeeper with an unbelievable ability to save shots that you think are destined for the back of the net. So for me, really excited by this one. A massive presence in goal for Manchester City going forward. Probably will be our #1 going forward for the foreseeable future. And really good value we got him for as well. So for me, that's a 9 out of 10. And overall, that is Manchester City's full transfers. And overall, that is all of Manchester City's transfers coming into this season. That is what I've rated them all out of 10. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments below. No. And that is all of the transfers which Manchester City have made this season. Let me know in the comments below. What do you guys think of the ratings that I've Give your ratings of each signing in the comments below. I'll be very interested to see what you guys think and what you guys are kind of rating our signings this window. I think we've done a lot of really good business for good value. You know, you look around the market, some of the fees that some players are going for. I think City have got really good value for the quality which we brought in this window. A few world-class players, in my opinion. Ryan Shirky, potentially a world-class player. But then you're bringing in Donnarumma. You're bringing in Tajani Reinders. 2 world-class players, in my opinion. So, really exciting stuff. I am excited, despite obviously the last 2 results, for the rest of the season to see how we progress. I think we've got a really good base if we can just put together some consistent lineups to get a real squad molded together here for the rest of the season. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of Manchester City's business in the comments below. Drop your ratings in there as well. I'll be interested to see what you guys think. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.